Welcome to My English Podcast.
Learn, practice, and speak with confidence.
Hello, and a very, very warm welcome to everyone listening today. You're tuned in to My English Podcast, your friendly space for learning and growing your English skills. I'm your host, Mia, and I am so happy you decided to press play and join us.
And I'm Max. It's great to be here with you all. We hope you have your favorite cup of tea or coffee ready. Today's topic is one I think a lot of people will be curious about. The title is quite bold.
It is! We're talking about 10 English sentences that instantly make you sound smarter. And of course, to help us understand this, our wonderful language expert is here with us. Welcome back, Mrs. Tina.
Hello, Mia. Hello, Max. Thank you for having me. And hello to all our listeners. Yes, it is a very bold title, and I'm glad we're going to talk about it.
I am too, because my first thought was, can a sentence really make you instantly sound smarter? It sounds a little bit like a magic trick. Is it about pretending to be someone you're not?
I had the same thought. I don't want to sound like a robot, just repeating phrases I memorized. But at the same time, I've been in situations, maybe at work or in a group discussion, where I have a good idea in my head, but when I say it, it comes out too simple. I'll just say, I agree, or I don't think so. And then the conversation moves on, and I feel like I didn't really express my full thought.
Max, what you just described is the perfect reason to talk about this. I want to be very clear with our listeners. This is not about being fake or memorizing tricks. Sounding smarter is not the best way to say it. A better way is sounding more thoughtful or communicating your ideas more clearly.
I like that reframe. Sounding more thoughtful. That feels much more authentic.
Exactly. These sentences are not magic. They are tools. Think of it like this. If you have a thought, that is the beautiful picture you want to share. But sometimes, especially in a second language, you don't have the right frame for that picture. So you just hand someone the photo. It's still a good photo, but it's not presented well. These sentences are like beautiful, simple frames. They give your thoughts structure and show the listener that you have considered what they are saying.
A frame for my thoughts. Okay, that makes sense. So it's about showing people that I'm thinking, not just reacting.
Precisely. These phrases create a small space for you to gather your thoughts and present them in a way that is organized and respectful. They show you are an active listener and a thoughtful contributor to the conversation. And that is what makes people perceive you as articulate and intelligent. It's not about using big, difficult words. It's about using simple structures effectively.
This is a great way to start. So let's get into these tools. What's the first area where a simple sentence can help us frame our ideas better?
Let's start with a very common situation, agreeing with someone. As Max said, it's very easy to just say, I agree. And that's fine. But if you want to add to the conversation, you can use a phrase that builds on what the other person said. So our first phrase is, that's a great point.
That's a great point. Okay, simple enough.
It is simple, but it does three things very quickly. First, it makes the other person feel good. You are telling them their idea is valuable. Second, it shows you are listening carefully. Third, it gives you a moment to prepare your next thought. After you say, that's a great point, you can pause for a second before adding your own idea.
And you can follow it up with something, right? Like, that's a great point. I was thinking something similar.
Exactly. Or our second phrase, which is a perfect partner to the first one, building on what you said, so you can combine them. That's a great point. Building on what you said, I think we should also consider the schedule.
Oh, that is good. It connects my idea directly to their idea. It makes it a team effort, not just me saying my own thing. For example, if Mia said, I think we need more time for this project, I could say, that's a great point. Building on what you said about needing more time, maybe we could move the deadline by 1 week.
Perfect, Max. You see how that sounds much more collaborative than just saying, yes, let's move the deadline? It shows you are connecting the ideas together. It's a very respectful and intelligent way to contribute.
I love that. So that's for agreeing. But what about the opposite? Disagreeing can be very scary for language learners. You don't want to sound rude or aggressive.
Yes. This is a big one for me. Sometimes I just stay quiet because I don't know how to say I disagree in a polite way.
This is where these frames are most powerful. A good way to disagree politely is to first show you understand the other person's perspective. So, phrase number 3 is, I see what you mean, but...
I see what you mean, but... Okay, that feels much softer than you're wrong.
Much, much softer. The first part, I see what you mean, validates the other person. It says, your idea is logical. I understand it. This makes them more open to hearing your different idea. The word but signals that you have a different perspective. For example, I see what you mean about moving the deadline, but I'm worried it will affect the next project. That is so useful. It's respectful. It doesn't attack their idea, it just presents a different problem to consider. And a similar one, our fourth phrase, is, that's one way to look at it. Another perspective is. This one is excellent when the topic is a matter of opinion, not a simple fact. It suggests that there are many valid ways to see the situation.
So if Max says, I think action movies are the most exciting, I could say, that's one way to look at it. Another perspective is that documentaries can be just as exciting because they are real.
Exactly. You are not saying his opinion is wrong. You are just offering a different one. It elevates the conversation from an argument to a discussion. It's a very mature and intelligent way to communicate.
I feel like I can use these two right away. They would make me feel much more confident about sharing a different opinion.
Okay, so we have phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. What's next in our toolbox?
The next area is asking for more information. Sometimes we don't understand what someone means. A simple what can sound a bit rude, and just nodding and smiling when you don't understand is not a good strategy.
Laughs. I have definitely done the nod and smile.
We all have. But a thoughtful person asks clarifying questions. It shows they care about truly understanding. So, phrase number 5 is, could you explain what you mean by specific word or phrase?
Oh, this is good because it's specific. You're not saying, I don't understand anything. You're pointing to the exact part that is confusing.
Precisely. It makes the other person's job easier. For example, if someone says, we need to improve our synergy, you could ask, that sounds interesting. Could you explain what you mean by synergy in this context?
That shows you're engaged, not lost. It's a confident question. And our 6th phrase.
It's a way to check your own understanding. Phrase number 6 is, so, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that. And then you rephrase their idea in your own simple words.
This is such a powerful tool. I've seen good leaders do this in meetings. It slows down the conversation and makes sure everyone is on the same page.
Yes, and it is incredibly helpful for the language learner. It gives you a chance to confirm you understood, and if you are wrong, it gives the other person a chance to correct you kindly. For example, so, if I understand you correctly, you're saying we should focus on marketing first, before we develop the new features?
And the other person can say, yes, that's exactly right. Or not exactly, I meant we should do them at the same time. It avoids so much confusion. This is a super phrase. It makes you sound careful and detail-oriented.
So we have agreeing, disagreeing, and clarifying. We have 4 phrases left. Where do we go next?
The next 2 are about structuring your own thoughts when you speak. Sometimes you need to share your opinion, not as a reaction to someone else, but just as your own idea. A simple way to introduce this is our 7th phrase, from my perspective.
From my perspective. It sounds a bit more formal than I think.
It is, just slightly. I think is perfect for casual conversation. But from my perspective signals that you have given the topic some thought, and this is your considered view. It's very useful when you want to share an opinion without presenting it as a universal fact. From my perspective, the best way to learn a language is to practice a little bit every day.
It's humble but also confident. It's not saying this is the only way, it's saying this is the way I see it. I like that. What's the next one for structuring our thoughts?
Our 8th phrase is a classic for comparing 2 different sides of an issue. On the one hand, but on the other hand. This structure immediately shows that you can see the complexity of a situation. You understand it's not a simple yes or no question.
This is great for making decisions. I want to buy a new car. On the one hand, a new car would be very reliable. But on the other hand, it's very expensive.
A perfect example. You are showing that you are thinking through the pros and the cons. In a discussion, it could be used like this. On the one hand, working from home is very convenient. But on the other hand, it can be difficult to collaborate with the team. Using this structure instantly makes your contribution sound balanced and well-reasoned.
It really does. It's a mini essay in a single sentence structure. Okay, we have our last two phrases. I feel like we're building a complete communication toolkit here.
The last two are about ending a conversation or a point. It's important to know how to summarize your thoughts. Phrase number 9 is a simple and effective way to do this. So, to sum it up,
This is great for meetings. When a discussion has gone on for a long time and people are getting confused, one person can use this to bring everything together.
exactly. It shows leadership. It helps the whole group. After a long discussion about a project, you could say, okay, so to sum it up, we are going to move the deadline by 1 week, John will email the client, and Maria will update the budget. Is that correct?
It clarifies everything and moves the group to action. It's a very helpful and, yes, smart thing to do. And that brings us to our final, 10th phrase.
Our last phrase is a wonderful way to end a discussion by focusing on the most important idea. It is, I think the key takeaway for me is.
Key takeaway. That means the main idea or lesson, right?
Yes. It's a fantastic phrase because it's personal and reflective. You are not telling other people what they should think. You are sharing what was most meaningful to you. It's a very insightful way to contribute. For example, after this podcast, a listener might think, the key takeaway for me is that these sentences are tools for communication, not tricks.
What a perfect example. It's less about summarizing the facts and more about sharing the meaning you found. It's thoughtful and personal.
Wow. So let's quickly list them all again. That's a great point. Building on what you said. I see what you mean, but that's one way to look at it. Another perspective is, could you explain what you mean by? So, if I understand you correctly, from my perspective, on the one hand, on the other hand, so to sum it up, the key takeaway for me is, looking at this list, I can really see how they are all frames for our ideas.
Me too. But now comes the important question. We have these 10 great phrases. How can our listeners start using them without feeling nervous or sounding unnatural? It feels like a lot to remember.
This is the most important part. Do not try to memorize all 10 and use them tomorrow. That will feel overwhelming and you will sound like a robot. My advice is this: choose one.
Just one?
Just one. Pick the one phrase that you feel you need most in your life right now. Maybe you need to disagree more politely, so you choose, I see what you mean, but for 1 week, your only job is to find one opportunity to use that single phrase in a real conversation.
Just once in a whole week. That sounds very achievable.
It is. And once you use it, and you see that it works, that the other person responds well, you will feel a boost of confidence. The next week, you can try to use it again, or you can pick another phrase from the list to practice. You build the habit slowly, one tool at a time.
That's such a relief. It's not a test. It's a slow, gentle process of adding more tools to my toolbox.
The goal is for these phrases to become a natural part of your English. And that only happens through slow, repeated, successful use. Be kind to yourself. Start small. The key takeaway from our conversation today should be that communicating thoughtfully is a skill you can learn, one sentence at a time.
What a perfect summary, Mrs. Tina. This has been so incredibly helpful. You've taken a title that sounded a bit like a gimmick and turned it into a really deep and practical lesson on thoughtful communication. Thank you so much.
It has been my pleasure. I hope it helps our listeners feel more confident in their conversations.
I'm sure it will. I've already chosen my phrase for this week. That's a great point. I'm going to use it. Thank you again, Mrs. Tina. And thanks to all of you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you for being a part of our community. That's all the time we have for today's episode of My English Podcast. Join us next time for more friendly conversation and simple ways to improve your English. Until then, take care and have a wonderful week.